You had a chance to look at the prep email I sent to you. That just has some information on how to adjust your hammock, as well as a couple pointers and tips. Trying to minimize the amount of talking I do in the live today so we can just get started and go into it. With that being said, I am, anybody that knows me, or as you get to know me, you will find I'm not a short-winded person, meaning I like to fully explain and use as much description as I can, especially when we're working together virtually and I'm not able to see you here. So I will do my best to explain everything. Like I said, questions and clarity needed is always welcome. So put them aside, send them through, email me, whatever it is. But we're gonna go ahead and get started. I do want to make a point to say before we get started, if you are practicing with me at home today and you are using at-home aerial equipment, please make sure that you are using specifically designated or designed and safety rated equipment for aerial. So you want to make sure you have a proper aerial fabric, which is designed and safety rated for the practice we're doing, as well as a proper rig for aerial use. Or if you have ceiling mounts, please make sure that they are professionally installed and approved. Other than that, if you feel uncomfortable with any of the movements today, please hold off. Do not push yourself. You will have time to find comfort in these movements over the next few weeks. I set the class up and the series up to be able to progressively move forward together. So where you are at today is perfect, and it's where you are at. So I ask that you monitor your own resistance in your body. I ask that you monitor your own body. I'm not there with you, so you will have time to get used to these movements. Today, we will take a little bit more time to make sure we have the proper engagement, that we're set up correctly so that we can really build a strong foundation for the upcoming weeks to build upon. Each week, we're going to be adding more to the exercises and conditioning, and we're going to be upping our reps or our hold times as well. So we're going to start off what seems pretty basic today. You will feel it by the end of today, and this is all, like I said, very modular. So we're going to be able to build on these. With that, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to go ahead and do a little bit of a warm-up today. Like I have stated, we're going to be focusing mainly, I'm going to come back over here to my hammock. So we're going to be focusing mainly on strengthening our core, and the 360 lower core is the part that we're going to be hyper-focused on in the next few weeks. And so with that, we're going to be working on front belt series. And through this, we're going to build not only strength throughout our lower core, but a nice solid foundation. So not just topically or, what's the word I'm looking for? Not just superficially, but we're going to delve into those deep muscles so that we can help ourselves in the future with injury prevention and a nice strong body. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to actually start with a little heart opener today, just to open up our bodies, open up our minds, relax ourselves as we get ready to move forward. So standing in front of your hammock, and you want to be at center point. So for us, center point is going to be where your hammock or fabric is hung from. You're going to stand right there underneath. The hammock for here, or for now, is going to be behind us. We're going to grab all that fabric here and drape it over our shoulders. So like a little cape or a shawl here. Make sure that the hammock is even on both sides. So this is going to be important too to help with this stretch. Arms up high above the head. We're going to bring our hands together in prayer and then dive our hands forward. Open those arms back up. Like you want to give me a big old hug. You're happy that we're finally here. Nope, never mind. I'm just kidding. I don't want to give you a hug. And actually, yes, you do. We're going to dive right back in. So now we should have our arms double wrapped from shoulders to right below our elbows. So now I have a Y position with our hands, or my arms. I'm going to go ahead and, like a puppet or a marionette doll, I'm going to drop my arms. So like I'm a puppet on a string. We're going to ground ourselves here. So feet are neutral here, right below our waist. Take a big breath in. As you inhale through the nose, filling up the lungs, feeling the chest expand, feeling the rib cage open and the belly expand as well. As you exhale, softening the belly, softening the chest, feeling the rib cage fall, the shoulders gently fall as well. We're gonna now round our shoulders back, but we're not gonna activate our arms. We still wanna have minimal activation here in our arms. So nice loosey-goosey shoulders, loosey-goosey arms. We're gonna use our hammock here as a tool to start opening up in the stretch. Take a couple steps forward. As you start to walk forward, you'll notice that the hammock is gonna start to pull your arms back. You're gonna come to that point where your body says, all right, that's enough, and your shoulder blades begin to gently squeeze together. Taking a big breath in here, filling that chest, filling the lungs. As you exhale, leaning forward gently, bowing the crown of the head. Feeling those shoulder blades gently squeeze together a little tighter or a little further. Again, monitor your resistance. If you feel a little bit too much pressure or strain, take a step back. We'll have time to continue to open up our shoulders and heart here. So again, planting ourselves in our feet, gently bowing the crown of the head forward, take a big breath in, and as you exhale, once again, lean forward. Allow the arms to be pulled back to the room behind you and the shoulder blades gently squeeze together. One more time, inhale. And full complete exhale as you come back to center. So now we're gonna extend our arms here, creating a nice big Y shape with our arms. Fingertips open, big open palms like you're high-fiving the room in front of you here. Round those shoulders back, nice straight spine. Gaze is gonna be slightly up, so like you're looking at that front corner ceiling here in front of you. Maybe take another step forward, allowing those arms to pull back a little farther, squeezing those shoulder blades together, but letting the hammock do this for you. So not actively pushing your arms back, rather just bringing yourself to a point where the hammock does that for you. Extend those arms. Now I want you to act like you're shooting lasers out of your fingertips. Big open palms, big wide open arms. Feel this stretch all the way through your underarms. One more inhale. And as you exhale here, releasing any tension you may have, bringing your body back to center, slowly coming back to your center point. You may feel some tingling through the arms. That's normal. We're gonna allow our arms or our blood flow to regulate back through our arms and shoulders here. Give your shoulders a little shake. Maybe roll the shoulders forward a few times. Inhale. Exhale, roll the shoulders back a few times. Wiggle out those fingers and go ahead and step behind your hammock. So now we're going to go ahead and do some front belt stretching. So this is going to help us to open up our hip flexors, our thighs, quads, lower back. Again, like I mentioned in the preparation video, and just in case you didn't get a chance to watch it, this is where I add my disclaimer in my classes. Front belt stretches in the beginning tend to not be very comfortable. Think of it as a deep tissue massage. You'll thank me later. You'll thank yourself later for showing up for this. The hip flexors hold a lot of tension, and this is a very hard to reach area. A lot of times we have tight IT bands, our psoas are tight. And so this is a great hip opener, lower back opener, and the discomfort you feel will go away. So I've given you a couple pointers and tips on how to assist the discomfort or help yourself through these. If you did not get a chance to watch the video, I'll try to go ahead and cue those for you as we go. So standing behind the hammock here at our center point, we're gonna grab onto our hammock like a rope, separate those hands so they're just wider than our hip distance apart. So this is like when we measured into the hammock, right? We're gonna draw that hammock up to our hips, push down in the hammock, lift our heels off the mat, maybe an inch or so, and ground into the balls of our feet here. As we push down, the hammock comes down towards our hip flexors. We're gonna walk forward on the balls of our feet, maybe 1, 2, or 3 steps here. Once you start to feel that hammock pull at your hip flexors or your hip crease, this is your front belt tension. Now here's where you wanna make sure as you start to bend at the hips that that hammock stays in your hip crease. This should be right here where the fold of your thighs and your hips meet. Again, if it's in your lower belly, take a moment to stop now, adjust your hammock so it's a little lower and come back in. Or if the hammock is too high or too low on your thighs rather, and you feel like you're gonna tumble forward when you lean forward, stop, raise your hammock, or bend a knee to create more weight into the hammock for you as you lower. So here we are At front belt tension, the hammock should be locked into our hip flexors. Start to bend into a right angle here, holding on to the hammock at the sides of your hips. We're going to reach down with one hand, slowly start to lower the crown of the head and fingertips to the mat. So we're going to tent our fingertips here. Because my mat keeps getting balled up. So we're going to tent our fingertips here on the mat or on the carpet, or on the ground rather. Tippy toes and fingertips here. And we're going to take a big breath. As you exhale, I want you to bend both knees here, just a little micro bend, maybe an inch. Start to rest your hips heavy into the hammock. Take a big breath in here as you extend both knees and draw the nose up towards your hands. Big breath in. As you exhale, bend both knees once again, maybe lowering a little farther, maybe 2 inches here. Allowing the crown of the head to sink towards the mat. Feeling our hips sinking into that fabric. You should maybe start to feel some discomfort here. That's okay. Breathe into the tension or the tightness you're feeling here in your hips. Extending both knees once again, drawing the gaze up towards your fingertips. We're going to take one little step back with both feet. So we're still on the balls of our feet, heels are lifted, fingertips are tented onto the ground here. We're going to go ahead and pedal out our heels, and we're going to drop one heel at a time to the ground, starting to open up our hamstrings, right? We're feeling that tension or that tightness in the back of our calves, through the back of our knees, maybe even up through the back of our thighs here. So we're going to take big breaths, and as we inhale, we're going to extend our legs, rock forward. As we exhale, we're going to push against the ground with our fingertips, drop one heel to press it into the ground. Lift both heels as you inhale, exhale, drop a heel, sink the crown of the head, inhale and lift. So now we're going to go ahead and do a rep of 3 on both sides for our pedals. Starting with our right heel, take a big breath in, exhale, drop that right heel, keep the left knee bent and drop the crown of the head nice and heavy. Try to press that heel down towards the ground, making an imprint on your mat. As you inhale, extend both knees, rock forward. Nose comes up towards your fingertips now. Exhale, press that left heel down, bending that right knee, dropping the crown of the head heavy. Looking at your knee here. Take a big breath in, extend both knees. Now drop that right heel, big breath. Extend knees. Exhale, drop that left heel, pushing that heel down to make an imprint on your floor. Inhale, extend both knees, last time to both sides. Exhale, drop that right heel. Inhale, rock forward. Exhale, drop that left heel. Inhale, last time, rock forward. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come into our TP position. So we're going to either take a couple steps back with our hands and feet, or if you feel comfortable enough, you can high five the ground here with both palms flat on the mat or on the ground and lift your toes gently, maybe a little half an inch off the ground. And you should float back here into a TP position. So what does this mean? This means that our body is essentially floating. Even if your feet are gently resting on the ground and our hands are resting on the ground, if we were to lift our toes off of the mat, we would float here instead of swing. So making sure that your hips are hanging underneath your center point. Toes are just hovering over the ground. Arms are reaching out in front of us towards the front of the room. Palms are flat, glued to the mat here. Now we're going to drop the crown of our head. So we're looking at our knees. Take a big breath in here. And as you exhale, we're going to bend our right knee and keep that left leg down. As you bend the right knee, you're going to draw that right heel all the way up towards your bum, pinching your heel in towards your bum and drawing your knee into your chest. Take a big breath in. As you exhale, drop that right foot down to the mat. Inhale, we're going to bend our left knee now, squeezing that knee into the chest and pinching our heel up towards our bum. Exhale, drop that left foot, and we're going to switch. We're going to do that 2 more times to both sides. So inhale as we draw that right bent knee into chest, squeezing our heel into glute, and switch. Drop the right foot. Inhale, Squeeze that left knee into our chest. Exhale, drop. Last time, right. Inhale. Exhale, drop that right foot. Inhale and bend that left knee, squeezing into our chest. And now bringing that left foot back down to the mat. From here, we're going to go ahead and take a bend with both of our knees. Lifting our feet from the mat here, bending the knees, squeezing them in towards our chest, and once again, drawing our heels up towards our glutes. So we're floating here. Again, you may be feeling discomfort in this area. Very normal. Breathe into this tension. Do not forget the breath. It's important as you inhale, you send that breath to the tension or the tightness you may be feeling here in your hips, psoas, IT bands, lower back. And as you exhale, you release and soften those areas. Go ahead and drop your feet back down to the mat for a moment. Take a little breather. Maybe press down with your feet, or the balls of your feet into the mat or into the ground. Push down into your palms here. Maybe lift your hips a little quarter, half inch off of the material to give it a little break. Exhale. We're going to lower right back down onto that fabric with our hip flexors. So we're almost done with our front belt stretches here. What we're going to do is we're going to once again bend both knees, drawing our heels up towards our glutes. Now keeping our toes together, we're going to send those knees out nice and wide. And in anti-gravity, this is called our wishbone. So I don't know what this is going to be called for you in your practice. We're going to take a big breath in here with those knees out nice and wide, toes together. And as we exhale, we're going to squeeze our knees back together and then send our toes out nice and wide. Keeping those knees together, this is where you may feel and will feel the most discomfort. This is absolutely normal. Take a big breath in. This is called dovetail in anti-gravity. So breathing into this dovetail. Exhale, bring those toes together. We're going to send the knees out wide for our wishbone. Inhale. Exhale, squeeze those knees together. Keep the knees together. Send those toes out wide. Dovetail. Inhale. Exhale one more time. Bring the toes together. Keep those toes together. Send those knees out nice and wide. Inhale. Exhale last time. Squeezing the knees together. Send those toes out nice and wide. Big breath here. As you exhale, draw those toes together. Now, you can go ahead and drop your feet here if you're feeling that the tension or the pressure is enough, or if you'd like, we're gonna wag out our tails here a little bit. So in anti-gravity, this is called a flying dog. So like a down dog position, but with our feet floating up in the air. We're gonna go ahead and use the hands on the mat or on the ground here to just gently sway right to left with the hips. Another breath here as you slowly, just organically allow the body to come back to stillness. We're going to drop our feet back down towards the ground, planting the balls of our feet onto the mat or onto the ground here. Slowly start to walk forward with your hands and feet, walking past your center point, walking towards the front of your mat here, coming to where you're at front belt tension again, and we're going to slowly start to raise our body. So taking your hands into a little half fold as you rest your palms on the top of your knees or your thighs. Take a breath here as you reset. Remember, we were in an inversion. Anytime your head is below your heart for an extended period of time, this is considered an inversion, and we want to allow our body time to regulate. So from here now, we're going to go ahead and bring your chin to our chest. Slowly start to cat back all the way up, or body roll all the way up, allowing that hammock to release from your hip flexors. So take a little breather. Those can be intense. We're going to go ahead and stand in front of our hammock. Take the hammock to the mid of our back here in a mid back belt. Walk back a couple steps to find that back tension. Bend your knees as you lean back into the hammock, and just take a couple steps forward. Again, we're going to allow our body to just regulate here, allow that blood flow to find its correct flow. A little redundant, sorry. Big breath here. All right, so We're gonna reach up high in our hammock, grabbing on to both sides of the hammock like a rope. We're gonna grab on with that hammock. Oh, sorry, we're gonna pull up, push down into our feet, and body roll all the way up. So I do encourage breaks for hydration and for breath and resetting yourself. So at any point in time, I'm gonna step out of camera view. If you feel that you need to take a break, take a sip of water, please go ahead and do that. Like I said, you're able to jump in at any time. You're able to rewatch these and practice multiple times through the week. So don't fear that you'll miss out on anything. So now that we've gotten ourselves stretched out here in the hip flexors, we're gonna give our hips a little bit of a break as we start to warm up our core before we jump into our actual front belt conditioning. So for our core warm up today, we're gonna go ahead and get into a pouch position in our hammock. So stand at the front of your fabric, grab onto the front edge, just give it a little wave to make sure it's not folded in on itself. And we're gonna take both thumbs in that front edge and gather the material so that we have roughly about half of our hammock fabric in our hands. So for me, that's about 6 to 7 gathers. And if you feel more comfortable, you can also face the hammock as you gather. Once again, knowing your hammock length, coming about halfway through the fabric material. Once you have gathered half of your hammock, you're gonna go ahead and create a shelf behind you. And we're gonna walk back to our center point. Go ahead and bring both elbows on the inside of that hammock, holding the fabric here at the sides of the hips. We're gonna push down into that fabric, lift off of our heels, lift your favorite knee, and scoop your bum cheek into the hammock, one cheek at a time. Once you've scooped your body up into the hammock, into the fabric pouch here, we're gonna go ahead and set up our pouch. So before we get going into setting up the pouch, for the first class today, we're gonna be focusing on reps of 3. Now, I know to some that might not seem like a lot. Trust me, it will definitely be enough for today. We're going to be focusing on proper engagement today, making sure that as we move forward with all of these exercises, drills, or conditioning, that we are properly engaging. We're optimizing this time here, and we are building that solid foundation, and we're not superficially going through these movements rather. So with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and start with those reps of 3. And first, we're gonna reach up high on the hammock, grab on to all the hammock on both sides here like a rope, nice and high. Give a little tug just so that you lift your hips gently off of the material. Now start to bicycle your legs, or like you're running through the mud, start to press those legs down towards the mat here as you bicycle. The purpose of this is so that we can draw the hammock up towards the top of our thighs. So we want to have that hammock up kind of by that bum crease here where the top of the thighs meets your bum cheek. And from here, excuse me, we're gonna high five the back of our hammocks. I'm gonna create a little cup with my hands, so thumbs on the inside, fingers on the outside, and I'm going to glide my hands along the back side of the hammock. What I'm doing here is I'm placing and drawing that hammock down to create my back belt. So if you can see here, I want my hammock to be on my back belt by my lower sacrum. I don't want it to be too high, and I definitely don't want it to be too low, as it will compromise my stability in these exercises. So creating a little booty pouch or a booty wrap here. And if you can, or if you'd like to, give a little bit more of a challenge, you can wrap those fingers around the front edge and hold on to all of that hammock. If this is a little too much or too intense for right now, and you would like a little bit more security for these exercises, absolutely feel free to widen that fabric. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and get started. So make sure you have your pouch here, and knees are bent, toes are weighted towards the mat. Big breath in. As you exhale, breathing out all of that air, we're gonna tighten our core. So we're gonna make sure that our abs or our core is nice and engaged, chin comes to chest, and we're gonna slowly start to banana back or create a C shape with our back and lower our shoulders back towards the mat, keeping those toes heavy towards the ground here. So once again, I'm gonna just reiterate this. Like I said, with the first class, I'm gonna go through a little extra direction just to make sure we're all on the same page. So we're gonna create our little booty wrap here. And once we have our hammock in the right place, knees are bent, toes are weighted towards the ground, chin to chest, we're gonna banana back here and slowly start to lower those shoulder blades back towards the mat. So now we're gonna extend our legs forward in a lever position. Extend your arms up the hammock here in a drawbridge position. So now we wanna make sure before we get started that we are nice and activated. Once again, make sure that core is activated. We're gonna take a big breath in. As you exhale, we'll breathe out. We feel that core activation. We wanna knit our abdominal muscles in towards our ribs, making sure to keep our glutes engaged as well as our lower back. So toes are pointed towards the room in front of us. If you can, go ahead, lower the shoulders here, just a couple inches. Oops. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Oh, no. Oh, I'm so sorry, you guys. I don't know what happened. Thank God. I'm going to meet up with you guys. Come back into the pouch. The only thing with lives is sometimes you're not in control of how it goes. All right, so I'm going to get back in my booty wrap and meet up with you guys here. So bending at the knees, lowering our back towards the mat, raising our arms up nice and high, holding onto that hammock, extend our toes forward into a lever position. Slowly start to lower those shoulders to create a parallel with our body to the mat. Once again, tightening our abs, making sure to knit our abdominal muscles in towards our ribs, engaging our glutes, engaging our lower back. Take a big breath in here. And as you exhale, we're going to slowly start to batu our feet. Little swift kicks here for 3, 2, 1. And we're going to stop here, coming to stillness. Pointing out through our toes. I apologize, you guys. I don't know if it cut out again. I'm really sorry about that. I'll make sure to address all these issues here after this first live. All right, so here we're going to point out through our toes, turn the soles of our feet to face one another here, and start to scissor kick. So here we're going to batu or scissor kick our legs. And we're making this movement, or we're creating this movement using our lower abs, our quads, our glutes, and our lower back. Bringing our feet back to stillness here. We're gonna go ahead, keep our body nice and strong. And I want you to challenge yourself, drawing your hands to both sides here and pulsing for 3, 2, 1. Grab onto that hammock. Now, if you're unable to let go just now, that's absolutely fine. Do your best to draw your hands down towards your body. Keep that core engaged. Now from here, we're gonna once again go into our full rep of everything again. So we're gonna start to swiftly flutter our feet for 3, 2, 1, coming to stillness. Turn the soles of the feet in towards one another and start to scissor kick or batu our feet for 3, 2, 1. Coming back to stillness, once again, drawing that body into a nice straight parallel to the mat and pulsing with our hands at the side for 3, 2, 1. Reach up high. We're gonna go through one more rep, you guys. We're almost there with this warm up. Slowly, or once again, engage the core, and we're going to flutter our feet here for 3, 2, 1. Coming to stillness, turn the soles of the feet in to face one another, into our scissor kicks for 3, 2, 1. Bringing the body to stillness, drawing that back down to parallel, and bringing our hands to the side and pulsing for 3, 2, 1. Reach up high on that hammock, bending at the knees. We're going to slowly pull ourselves back up to a seated position. Allow the hammock here to get drawn to the back of the knees. We're going to keep our arms out of the back side of the hammock and gently bow the crown of the head forward here. Take a couple breaths here. One more time, inhale. All right, so to come out of our hammock, we're gonna reach up high, grab onto all of that hammock with both sides, give a little tug, and lift our bodies up and out of the hammock. Go ahead and take a sip of water if you'd like here. Don't take too much in. We are gonna go into our front belt, which means that we're gonna be floating or levitating across those hips, and you don't want to have too much water sloshing around. I do have to apologize. Obviously, this is alive. This is a new form of teaching for me to do through Zoom. So with that being said, while we were in that first round of exercises, some issues were coming across my screen, technical issues. I don't know if you saw them. I know that you were affected by them because I reacted to them. So I'm gonna do my best to just continue to move through, even if I see something come up, unless it goes completely out. Yeah, so I do apologize. I got a little thrown off, and we're just gonna go ahead and get right back into everything. So let's stand behind our hammock now. So now this is going to be where we get into our actual core conditioning for front belt. So we're gonna grab onto all that hammock like a rope once again. Separate our hands so that they're just wider than the hip distance apart. Push down on that hammock. Lift off of your heels, grounding in the balls of the feet. Walk forward a couple steps here. Once again, just like when we were going into our front belt stretches or we were measuring in, we're gonna start to bend at the hips here where the hammock starts to create tension. Except for this time, we're not gonna come into a right angle and we're not gonna go all the way down. We're gonna keep our chest forward, round our shoulders back here, take a slight bend in the knees, keep your hands at your side, okay? We will get to where we're not gonna be using hands. You're gonna be levitating and floating in these positions. But as we start, like I said, we're really building that strong foundation. We wanna make sure that these first couple practices, we are going through all the proper motions so that we build that muscle memory and strong foundation. So once again, we're gonna go ahead now and bend at the knees and take a couple steps back. So we want to have our body aligned with our center point. So what does that mean? That means that we're not here in front of our center point. So if I lift my legs, whoop, I go flying. We also don't wanna be too far back where when we lift our legs, we end up essentially just coming out of our hammock. So we're gonna go through that one more time to get into our proper placement. Push into the hammock, lift off of your heels, walk forward to front belt tension, bend gently at the hips here, keeping the chest forward. We're gonna bend our knees, walk back a couple steps until we find ourselves floating underneath our center point. So with our feet, we're gonna take our feet and separate them so that they're just about as wide or maybe a little wider than hip distance apart. Like I said, we're gonna start off this week, excuse me, with our hands at our sides. You may notice, and we're gonna go ahead and actually just play around with this here. We're gonna tighten our core first. So we're gonna take a big breath in, and as we exhale, we breathe out, we tighten those abdomen muscles, that lower back here, and we knit our abdomen muscles in towards our ribs, our spine. And what we're gonna do is, if you notice, I want you to release one hand. So let's hold on to the hammock by our hips. And if you can, release one hand down like you're just gently reaching down towards the mat. You might start to notice that your body gets heavier. This is because we're lacking those lower core muscles that we're working to build here in the next few weeks. If you feel like you still have some control, go ahead and release the opposite hand and try to keep the top of the body forward and up. So here's where you'll know if you start to fall and you have a hard time staying up without the assist of your hands. We're gonna start off today's class with our hands at the side and keep them there. At any point in time, you may challenge yourself and try to release your hands. You can always alternate as we begin to build these muscles. Really, again, it's monitoring your body, challenging yourself. You'll have plenty of time to move through and progress through this. So now we're gonna go ahead, and our toes are just about wider than hip distance apart. We're gonna start off with alternating leg ups. So we're going to use our glute muscle, our lower back, and we're gonna actually start on the left side so you guys can see me a little bit better here. So we're gonna start by engaging that glute, engaging the thigh, engaging the lower back, and remember, we have a nice tight core here as well. We're gonna keep that right foot or right toe on the ground, and we're gonna lift that left heel up, maybe an inch off the mat, and drop it down. We're gonna alternate to the right now. Inhale, lift that right heel, and drop. Left, lift, and drop. Remember, when we lift, we're lifting with our thigh, our glute, and keeping that core and lower back engaged, and drop. One more time, both sides. Lift that left heel and drop. Lift that right heel and drop. So from here, we're gonna do both legs up, and it's gonna look like this. Inhale, lift both heels, and drop. Again, lift and drop. One more time, inhale, exhale, lift the heels, and drop. I'm gonna move this guy back. It's bothering me, there we go. Now from here, we're going to do our little battus. So we're gonna bring both feet in so that they're in line with our hips. And we're going to lift our toes just about an inch off the mat and scissor kick or battu our toes or our feet here for 3, 2, 1, and drop. Go ahead and separate those feet here a little wider. Once again, we're going to lift both of our feet, but this time what we're gonna do is we're gonna pop out into a little straddle. It's gonna look like this. Lift the heels, pop them out, bring them in, drop them down. Okay, so let's do that together. We're gonna lift our heels, pop them out, bring them in, drop them down. Let's go ahead and do 2 more. Ready? Inhale, lift, pop out, bring them in, bring them down. Inhale, up, out, in, down. All right, you guys, so you probably are already starting to feel this here in the lower back. I know I am. That's good. That means we're engaging, we're building, we're growing. So here, we're going to now do a levitating pop out, or a straddle out rather. So what that looks like is, once again, we're gonna lift our heels and pulse them out for 3, 2, 1, drop the feet. Okay, so just in case you didn't have a chance to do that with me, let's go ahead and do that again. We're gonna lift our heels, pulse them out, 2, 3, and down. All right, you guys, so we're gonna take a little fold here, holding on to the hammock at the sides. We're gonna fold at the hips, lowering the crown of the head and the hands to the mat, bringing our feet back to a neutral or to center. Maybe allowing a slight bend in the knees. Allowing a softening in the lower back. Feeling a heaviness in the shoulders, in the ankles, in the knees. Take a big breath. One more time, big breath in. And exhale. So now here, we're gonna reach up and grab onto the hammock at both sides of our hips, tightening up our core, lower back. We're going to lift our chest all the way back up. Once again, make sure those feet are just wider than hip distance apart. And what we're gonna do now is called small ball pop-ups. So for this week, we're gonna go ahead and keep our hands at our side. What these look like is lifting our legs or our heels up off of the mat here. And we're going to fold at the hips, bend our knees into chest, nose into knees, heels into glutes, and create a small ball. Now tightening that core, using all of those core muscles, we're going to extend our body, popping up and opening into a levitation. And exhale, folding at the hips once again. Bent knees into chest, nose into knees, heels into bum. Exhale, extend, open up into that lever, float and levitate here. And one more time, fold at the hips, knees into chest, nose into knees, heels into glutes. Inhale, last time, really extend, activate, hold, try to keep those heels up. Separate those feet or legs out a little wider here. Hold for 3, 2, 1. We're gonna fold at the hips, bend at the knees, create that loose small ball here. You can drop your hands to the mat, maybe bend the elbows, let the forearms just rest on the mat here. You can allow your legs to just be soft. So whatever that looks like, whether your knees are slightly bent, whether your legs are separated, whatever that is to you, close your eyes, take a moment here, feel your body. Feel gravity start to sink your body deeper into the fabric as the hammock holds you here by your hips. One more time, big breath in. And full, complete exhale. Now what we're gonna do here is we're gonna slowly start to come up once again. So you can grab onto the hammock by your hips, pull yourself up, and we're gonna start to ground our feet back into the mat as we walk forward. Coming to front bell tension, allowing the hammock to just release from our hip flexors. Once again, we're gonna go into a recovery pose. So hammock's gonna be behind us. Arms are gonna come through the back side of the hammock. Take that hammock, create a mid-back belt. Walk back a couple steps here. Bend at the knees. Start to lean your back into the fabric. And as you lean back, slowly start to walk forward. Take a couple moments here to breathe, reset. Now you can stay here for a few more breaths in your recovery, or you can come out and get yourself a sip of water, whatever you feel in this moment. Reach up high on that hammock. When you are ready to come out, you can just walk all the way back to the hammock, helps you up. All right, you guys, so it's already coming to the end of our class. We're gonna go through a little bit of a cool down here, and then we'll do some talking afterwards, okay? So for our cool down, let's come to the back of our hammock. Separate your feet so that they're just wider than hip distance apart here. Grab onto all that hammock once again, like a rope, just separate your hands nice and wide, wider than hips. Extend your arms forward. We're gonna bend at our hips, send our hands and fabric forward, and creating here a right angle with our body. Gazes down towards the mat. We want to make sure now that we have a nice neutral spine. So what does that mean? It means that we're not overextending and arching our back, and we're not over cat backing. Our spine is nice and neutral, so our hips are stacked over our ankles. Fingertips are reached towards the front of the class, or I'm sorry, the front of the room here. Crown of the head is towards the front of the room as well. Gazes down towards the mat. Spine is in one nice long straight line. Take a big breath in, and as you exhale here, we're gonna go ahead and drop our chest and our belly, creating an arch or a cow back. Roll the gaze forward here, big breath in. As you drop your chest and send those fingertips forward, you should feel this stretch all the way through your underarms, your chest, your belly, your back. Big breath in, and as you exhale here, we're gonna push down into the hammock, drop our tailbone to the mat, drop the crown of the head, tuck the chin into chest, and send those shoulder blades up towards the ceiling for a nice tall cat back. Inhale. Exhale, reach those fingertips forward, send the hammock forward, drop the chest, drop the belly, send the tailbone to the room behind you for cow. Round your gaze forward, big breath in. Exhale, drop the gaze to the mat, push down into the hammock, drop your tailbone to the mat, chin to chest, send those shoulder blades up nice and high for a cat back. Inhale. Exhale, last time, open back up into cow, send those fingertips forward, Slowly sink the chest and belly to the mat, round the gaze forward. We're gonna take just a slight bend in our knees this time. Send that tailbone back to the room behind you. And this time, we're gonna keep a little bend in our knees, drop the crown of the head forward here. Bend at your elbows and knock your knuckles and your elbows behind your head here. Chin to chest, sink the crown of the head forward. Allow the back and belly to sink even further towards the ground for your mule position. As you exhale this time, we're gonna extend our arms, extend our knees, push down into the hammock, drop the tailbone, chin to chest as we cat back all the way up this time. So nice and slow as you push down into the hammock, stack each vertebrae from your hips all the way up through the mid of the back, through your shoulder blades, up to your shoulders. Once that spine is straight, roll the shoulders back and down and draw the crown of the head back up to the ceiling. Go ahead and release the hammock. All right, you guys. So I am gonna grab my water, hold on. So we are at the end of our first class. And thank you so much. I do want to go over some things. I know it may have been a little awkward this time at some points. Again, I'm getting used to this platform and this format. And I want to make sure that we start off nice and strong. So it's important to me that we take time in the first class to make sure we move forward with all of the proper alignments and activations so that we can really optimize this series and move forward with a really strong base and foundation in our core. So I don't know, let me see if I can look up questions. Hold on really quick, you guys. There is, yes, okay. So, and I'll go through all those questions, but yes, what I will be doing is I can provide a set list with the, or probably separate from the email link, but a set list of the things that we worked on today. So if you don't have your phone or if you don't have access to watch the live so that you can continue to practice this through the week, you can go through the checklist or go through the set list and practice these without your device. So I will make sure to get that up for you. And again, so these are just some basic beginning moves that we're going to build on. So what does that mean? That means that with this series, it is very progressive based. Today, you will feel where we started to work on our activations. And even though we did seemingly pretty minimal today, all of that will have some progression next week. So I encourage you all to practice this a few times this week and to, sorry, one second. Okay, so I encourage you all to practice this throughout the week. And if you have any questions, of course, reach out to me. So like I said, I started the reps at 3. And the reason I did that is because we can always build, right? So if you feel that 3 just wasn't enough and you want to add on, by all means, please take that and add that into your practice. Maybe kick it up to 5. We will be doing that as we move forward. I'm going to up the reps, up the hold times, and up the amount of times that we repeat our exercises, as well as adding in some new stuff as we go. So I do also encourage you to document this for yourself, meaning that see where you are today when it comes to your core strength. So what I mean is, ultimately, I had mentioned we had some goals, and we know that the sustainable goal here is to be able to create a really solid foundation, right? Something we can always build on, that we always have in the core of our body. But the immediate goal, or maybe the goal we want to see by the end of this 4-week series, is that we have built enough core strength to be able to levitate. And what that means is when we are in our front belt, our ultimate goal will be able to levitate with our legs off of the ground and arms out to the side. So for today, you may be where you can't take your hands off. The hands come off, you go down. Hands come off, you go down. This is where I was when I began. This was not a quick process for me. Sharing my story, I started with no core at all, and it took me some time to be able to get to those points of levitation, and it was this series of exercises that I created for myself, and then ultimately created for or taught in my classes to be able to build that strength. It's something that as an aerialist, to have that strength is the difference of fluidity and movement, and just being able to get into the next pose. So a lot of times people ask, why or how did I get so graceful? How long have I been doing it? My movements are so fluid. And one of the key points for me that changed the whole aerial game, changed my technique, changed the fluidity of my movements, was incorporating these front belt conditioning exercises into my practice. So this first